Welcome back, everyone. My name is Bayode Gegeoju, and I'm an industrial mechanic, creative at night, and a rookie entrepreneur in the advertising and creative industry. This particular panel is about market research, market communication, value proposition, and value delivery. And I got two amazing women here that dominate their industry, and they will be here to tell us more, and we can learn from them. I will let them introduce themselves.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Annik. I am the CEO of Annik Welsh Socials. So I am a social media manager as well as a social media and confidence coach. So my job is really to educate business owners and entrepreneurs on how they can best show up and represent themselves online in a way that's going to attract your ideal clients, your target market, all of that good stuff. So I'm really excited to dive in. I have over 5 years of experience in marketing, and I'm excited to share all of that experience with you all today.
That's great. My name's Pamela Therrien, and I am the CEO of Patrina Advertising, which is a local advertising agency where we pretty much do everything. We've been around for about 44 years. I've been running the agency this is my 4th year, and I've been in advertising for about 24 years.
Wow.
And we do everything in Patrina. So, we always say whatever our clients need or ask, we find a way to get it done. We specialize in branding, campaign development, marketing strategy, website development, graphic design. We also own a billboard and out-of-home company called Outdoor Exposure, and we also own a sign shop called Sign City. And yeah, so all the companies just work together to help all the businesses in Northern Ontario. So we love the community and we love being part of it. So happy to be here.
That's awesome. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. That's a huge portfolio right here. So there's good information coming out of this for sure. Every business that starts up needs some sort of advertisement, and they also need some type of marketing. There is traditional marketing and obviously social media marketing that's dominating the industry these days. I do have a series of questions that I will ask, so that way maybe the viewers at home have the same questions like myself as a rookie entrepreneur as well. And one of those questions are, how do you build a successful brand on social media?
I mean, that's a big question.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
We have to break it down.
Okay, let me break it down. Yeah. So, how do you build a brand? This will be for Pam.
For sure.
Okay, so and we can both answer those because we both build brands. Yeah. But I think building a brand, and we actually did that with our friends at No Beep. So we had the pleasure of doing the branding.
Beautiful work you guys did, by the way.
It's easy to work with great clients. So, but you always start with, what's the company about? What do you stand for? We sometimes clients just want to jump right in and say, well, I want to start with social. I want to start doing radio. I want to get the brand out there. But really taking a step back to figure out what are you about? And what kind of feeling do you want to portray in the hearts and minds of your consumer? And that's really what it's about. Marketing is an emotional connection. At the very root of what we do, it's connecting to our target audience on an emotional level. And whether that's social or through your website or radio, TV, whatever you're doing, if it's traditional or more non-traditional forms of media, really taking a step back to say, taking the time to do the strategy behind it, to say, what are we about? What are our values? What is our mission? What is our unique selling proposition? How are we different from our competitors? What do we want to focus on? And really, at the end of it, answering that question, what do we want people to feel about us when they hear No Beep or when they hear Patrina Advertising? What is that emotion you want to evoke? And it sounds easy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of talking to your target audience. A lot of our clients, when we present logos, will say, well, I don't really like that. Okay, but let's bring it back to what your target audience likes. Like, you always thinking about it from the consumer's point of view, which is a really hard thing to do. But really taking it back to that level, and when you have that solid strategic foundation to build the work on, it just becomes so much more impactful and emotional. So that would be the first thing I would say, is start at the beginning. So don't try to rush into 4 steps in, because you're going to find you're going back to the beginning at some point to get it right.
And honestly, that ties into a lot of information we've gotten from some of the panelists here today. about you starting from the scratch. Um, I usually ask myself, what will sell this to me, before I can say what will sell it to somebody else. So I think that helps out when you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I build my brand? Most of the panelists also touched on making a business plan that will be a roadmap while you are growing or while you start building your brand.
Totally. And I would say too, so I agree with everything that Pam said, and then building on that, what is really important when it comes to making that sustainable on social media is considering the consumer as well as your values. So you need to mix those two things. So it's about what is the business that I want to put out, and then what will make it appealing to the client, right, or the target customer. And there's so many things that go into branding, like you're saying, right? And then in addition to that, when we put it on social media, it's figuring out, well, what is that brand voice? What does that voice sound like to the client? Often I'll also include in a strategy, a social media strategy, some brand pillars and elements. So these are like the core things of, what does your ideal client, what do you want your ideal client to feel when they experience that content that's being put out on social media? In addition to, like, what are the little elements that make your brand, right? So mixing those two in. So I often will advise that brands pick 6 pillars, so 6 keywords describing that feeling. So like, are you approachable? Are you warm, welcoming? Are you like quirky? Like, what direction are you taking that in, right? And then elements would be more specific things to do with the brand itself. So, some basic easy elements would be like your services, but you might want to go into a little bit of brand personality there. Are you doing like community highlights where you're highlighting, I don't know, like if you're an arts organization, you're highlighting specific artists within the community, things like that, right? So figuring out those elements that are the actual things that are going on the page as well. But it really is about uniqueness, and figuring out what makes your brand unique. The other thing I will say, because we're talking about making it sustainable on social media, is make it doable. So give yourself a strategy and a brand that you are going to be able to be consistent with. So when it comes to posting, make it really doable. Figure out what frequency is going to work for you, as well as repurpose your content, reuse your content. So this would be, if we're going at a basic level, if you are someone who is creating blog posts on a regular basis, you can turn those into social media posts, post those to multiple platforms, turn that caption into a video, right? There are so many ways we can repurpose to make it much more doable. So that's a little bit of that sustainable piece. As far as being able to like consistently build on the brand.
That's great. We got a lot of information from this, a lot of valuable information. The one question that I get asked as a rookie graphic designer who's been in business is, what is branding? Some people think it's just a logo, you design to them. So if you can please touch on what a brand is, that will probably point our listeners in the right direction on how and where they can find information about starting their brand.
So marketing, it's really an amazing venture to go down. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they love their business. They started a business out of a need, right? So Petrine Advertising, we have a business because we are a one-stop shop for all of what you need, and we're very passionate about being able to do that. So when you bring it back to, what is your business about? Starting it, so branding, and a logo is a result of the branding work that you've done. So when you look at your brand brand is about your brand personality. It's about your brand equity. It's about your that overall unique selling proposition. And you'll hear me say that a lot, that USP, because that really is, I believe, the basis of what your brand is going to be built on. And what is that unique selling proposition? What makes you different? What is going to make someone want to use your product or try your service or come to your store over going to someone else's store? So what makes you unique? And every single piece of communication that comes out of your business should be about that unique selling proposition. And what you're seeing on social is what you're seeing on a billboard, and everything feels the same. but it has to have that emotional connection. So that logo is a result of that unique selling proposition and that way you're going to connect emotionally with your target audience. And that logo is just a visual representation of that.
Absolutely.
And logos, they are very important because they are what people interact first with your business. But we always tell our clients too, a logo isn't everything you do built into one thing.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you see your logo, what do you feel? What do you feel about it? And you know, when you see, and we always talk about, you know, those logos that have been around forever, right?
Yeah.
So when you see Nike's logo or when you see Under Armour's logo, you just feel strong. It just feels like a strong logo.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's meant to do, and that's the emotion it's meant to connect with. So, you know, it has to be very strategic, and you start with that place. You start in a place of what are we about, what are our mission, what's our vision, what are our values, what do we want to stand for, what's our unique selling proposition, and then you build that into a marketing plan. And a business plan is a part of the marketing plan. But your marketing plan will then go into, you know, here's that next step, here's our 1 5-year budget, here's all the activities that are going to happen, and here's the way we're going to measure it. And that's the part that clients seem to always forget.
Yeah. I know that
we've
too.
done all of this work, but what are our goals? What are our objectives? And that has to be decided on in the beginning too. Where do we want to be in a year? Where do we want to be in 2 years? Where do we want to be in 3 months? And then you have those smart, measurable objectives that then you can go back to and say, we were successful. Because if you don't identify how you're going to be successful, how do you know if you ever are successful?
Absolutely.
So a lot of things that you need to kind of talk about, and you know, if you're not the sole owner of a business and you have a partner, it's a lot of things that you have to agree on. But a lot of work that needs to be done before you even get to that logo.
Amazing. It's awesome. I don't know if you have anything to say to that, Annik.
I mean, I totally agree. Like, Pam would be the branding expert here, so we covered it. But I would just say that, like, as far as building that brand too, I think that point you bring up about the big vision and having that in mind from the beginning is so important, because we get so lost often in the day-to-day of like, oh, I'm like buried in client work, or I need to get these products like designed, or I need to get this product on the shelf, or whatever it is, right? That we forget about that, you know, 5 to 10 year vision. And we need to build the brand with that in mind. You need to build the brand as if you already have that big business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Well, if you're just joining us, we're on the panel talking about market research, market communication, value proposition, and value delivery. And here with me is Annik Welsh and Pam Therrien from Petrina Advertising. And the first question was, how do we build a successful brand and on social media? And one of the answers that resonates with me is a brand is not just your logo. Your brand is the overall feel and overall look of your business. And one of the examples that was stated was the reason why some people will choose Nike over Adidas is because of what they've built over the years in business equity. And when you see that logo, it spells a brand to you. This brings me to my next question. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of social media marketing?
I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I did take some notes. I mean, there's so many. I love that you ask about the disadvantages as well. Because like, I could sit here and talk to you all day about like how great it is, because we all know that we should be on social media. But there are a few disadvantages, and I'm so glad you bring this up. So one of the biggest things that is a disadvantage of social media is you don't own the platform. So if I could drive any point home today, it would be the way that social media is meant to fit into your customer journey and your marketing plan. We want to look at the customer journey overall as like, and this is a really basic customer journey. I'll kind of like lay it out for you all. There are more steps involved typically, but when your customer enters your journey, we can look at it kind of like a funnel. And essentially at the top of that funnel, that first layer is always awareness. Next after that, we have consideration, After that, if they're considering, then they might enter that purchase phase as they're going down that funnel, right? This is a really simplified version of this customer journey, and yeah, Fam would know, but this is the basics. So, and then the goal is kind of outside on the bottom of that customer journey, we have retention, right? So the way that social media fits into your marketing plan will be individual to each business, but often it is covering that awareness stage. So this is one of the disadvantages of social media, is that we need to be aware that we aren't necessarily going to see a direct return, because people aren't necessarily going to be making purchases directly through social media. They can. There are features that allow us to do this nowadays, but often social media will serve as that kind of awareness stage, potentially consideration as they start to engage, and then I personally love using social media for retention as well, because it helps you build those relationships, Absolutely. Right, and helps you maintain. It can help you network too, which is really great. But we need to remember where it sits. I think the biggest misconception I see clients come to me with is that it's going to get them sales right off the bat. Social media is a long game. Another, in a way, disadvantage. We need to go into it with the right mindset. We need to be prepared to be building this presence for a long time, right? You're not necessarily going to be seeing immediate results unless you've put legwork in other ways through your marketing channels. So that's super important to remember. And then, like I said at the beginning, is like, you don't own the platform, right? So the algorithm does have some say over what people are seeing, and Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever platform you're using can, take those accounts away, or like things can happen, right? So it's really important to build up other marketing channels that you can kind of like own, right? So like an email list where you are in full control of like what's being sent to the client and what the client is seeing or the customer is seeing. But remember, the email list fits into that marketing funnel, that customer journey, in a different way. So we can still use social media to drive people to that email list. It's just that we're not putting all of our eggs in the social media basket, right? So diversifying our marketing channels is super important. So those are the disadvantages, and that's why it's important to be aware of those. Yep. Yeah, because you need a fully fledged marketing plan, right? I mean, the advantages, right, is that like you have full control over your message, which I think is really key and important, especially for branding, like we're talking about, right? Something that I mentioned in that first question was brand voice, and it's something that gets to come out on social media often, because when we create content, our goal is to deliver value. So we can do that through text and brand voice, and we can also do that through brand visuals. And so there are different ways of doing that, which is really cool. That also allows us to build community, right? So that's a huge advantage of social and can be super important. So depending on your goals, these advantages will be different for you, right? Like if you are trying to build a community, if you are trying to get engagement and have people be able to relate to each other, social media is the right channel for you. That's where you want to go. So it always depends on your goals, but there are a lot of advantages. Content marketing is just like, it's a really special thing, unique thing in the marketing world, because it allows us to deliver that value. And so we're able to fulfill our mission in our businesses by, having those products and having those services or whatever you're putting out there as your offer, but you're also able to then fulfill that mission by being on social media, which is why I think the medium is so cool, because you get to deliver that message on social in addition to doing it through your business.
That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. I find social media to be a very passive means of marketing. And mm-hmm. why I say that is because whenever I decide to market on social media, I always use myself as a case study. I go on social media and I am scrolling through everything that doesn't pertain to my thought process at that time. So while I'm doing that and someone sticks out to me, then probably caught my attention. Mm-hmm. How will you suggest to our viewers to capture the attention or the the attention of their audience through how do they go about creating content for that purpose?
Yeah. So speaking of content creation, right, it's like, where do we even start? So where my mind goes, and you could definitely weigh on this too, probably because of messaging, but my mind goes always first to messaging. So you need to brainstorm messaging that is in line with your brand, and there are a couple ways of doing that. Number one, I would always go to market research first. So you want to be asking your target audience what they want to be seeing, right? And there's a couple of categories of messaging that I really like for people to start with because I think they can be really powerful. One of them is pain points, which is, what is that target market struggling with and how can you help them, right, with that need?
Sorry, I smile because it's almost like I've sat in this session before with you.
You have. I've talked about this before with you for sure, because it's my go-to and I use it with all of my clients.
It's great.
And it gives you a place to start with messaging, which is what I love about it. So pain points are, what your target market is struggling with. Transformation point would be the opposite. So what are their dreams? What are their desires? What do they hope to achieve by working with you, by buying your product? So if you can brainstorm a couple of points under that, what I do then is I get more specific with them. So you might say that pain points for your clients are like stress, overwhelm, right? We hear those things all the time, right? Are you stressed? Are you overwhelmed? The problem with those is they're not specific enough. So what you want to do is then get even more specific to your niche, right? So if you're, I don't know, this is just an easy go-to niche, but if you're targeting like moms, what are they stressed with? What are they overwhelmed with? How can they better improve their day-to-day? And find those specific examples in their day-to-day life, whether it's like the morning routine is a mess or like whatever, right? See, you laughed at that. It's relatable. So you want to get super specific so that you can make that content relatable. And then in addition to that, that value piece, right? So you want your content to either educate, entertain, or inspire. That way you are ensuring that you are delivering value, that you're giving a reason for that audience to click that follow button, right? So mixing in that messaging with delivering that value is like just like a golden nugget. So that's always great. And then doing that market research. So asking those target audience members, like, what are they struggling with? What are their dreams and desires? That can help you get more specific and give you more ideas so you're not just like pulling things out of thin air, right?
And that's what I love about social media is that that's not specific to social media. So when you're developing your unique selling propositions, which is exactly, is it a pain point?
USP.
Like why does your business exist? Why does someone want to interact with your business? Why do I want to use your service? You should know from, that strategic work that you've done what your unique selling proposition is, and that's going to be what you focus on when you go into social media. The thing too that what you said that I thought was really smart was that sometimes things aren't measurable in ROI, right? Return on investment. Sometimes it's not a dollar investment that you can automatically track. We hear that all the time about billboards, print, anything that's not digital that you can't track that digital journey from. There's still an ROI in that. It's brand awareness, it's brand recall. When someone goes into a store, they've seen the billboard that they're now seeing because of geofencing on your phone. It's all building into a smart strategy.
Absolutely.
That's all encompassing, that shares all of those same points, that feels the same, because people should be experiencing your brand in the same way everywhere they're going.
Absolutely.
Social media is huge, and I think we've realized, especially over the pandemic, how important of a role social media plays in that overall strategy. But content is king. Like, if you are not writing strategically and from that unique selling proposition, no one's going to identify with if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're going to be nothing
in the end
to no one, right? Like,
in the end,
so you really have to decide what you want to be and who you want to focus and target on, and then be diligent. Strategy, and I'm going to pull it back to strategy a bit, because strategy is hard. Strategy in itself is making you decide one thing over another. So I'm going to target, let's say I work on Bounce dryer sheets or laundry detergent. I'm going to target moms with 2.5 kids, which I never understood how you could have half a child, but you can.
Half a child.
In research, you can have half a child.
Yeah.
2.5 kids, and then that feeling. So I don't like doing laundry. I'm speaking from my target market's point of view, right? So that mom likes the feeling of finishing laundry and putting it away. They feel like they're doing something for their family. And that's that feeling you want to capitalize on. And that's what research will tell you. And that's when you build that target person. So whether you're give a name to that person, build a woman whose name is Brenda, and then explain what Brenda is, what she cares about, where she lives, right? Are you targeting geographically, behaviorally, psychologically? And then you build that person. And then everything you write, content is king. So everything you write has to be about and be focused on what your target market wants, right? And when you're diligent, and like I said, strategy is hard because you're just by the essence of a strategy, you're deciding something, you're choosing something over something else. So by choosing a Midwestern woman who's 25 years old, I'm not choosing a person that lives in Manhattan that is 80 years old, right? And that's hard because clients will often say, well, I want to target that person, but I don't want to alienate that person. Okay, but that's not strategy, right? That's us trying to be everything to everybody. So just keeping it simple and going back to, why am I in business? What do I offer that is unique? And focusing that on social, focusing that on your post.
Across the board.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, a good point that you made me think of too is that, like, content is not only for social, right? Content is your email marketing. It's anywhere you're kind of showing up with a piece of writing or a graphic or something that is delivering that value, right? So any of this messaging research or this ideal client work you're doing, target market branding work you're doing, is applicable across the board. Yeah.
And us being here today is marketing.
Absolutely.
Everything is marketing.
Everything,
right?
networking, relationship building, all of it. Yeah.
It's all around us. Marketing is all around us.
Yes.
And somebody just told me in the audience that I should check my phone. There's probably marketing on there too.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Okay.
Is there?
Yes, there is marketing. So this is great because there's lots of valuable information coming out here regarding the advantages and disadvantages of social media marketing. One of the advantages there is the network, you're creating a community, and basically you're educating and you're entertaining your audience. And most importantly, you got to do all that with the fact that what makes you unique is behind your mind. You always want to go back to the fact that what makes my business stand out, and that forms the basics of all your content and all your marketing tools that you generate or create from that point on. If you're just joining us, my name is Bayode, and we are on the panel for marketing research, market communication, value proposition, and value delivery. And with me here is Pam and Annik. And this brings me to my next question. So, as a business owner, I find that it's always a challenge, sometimes a challenge, to figure out what strategies to implement towards growing your business. I know most of all you've talked about today has pointed us in the right direction, that you always got to fall back to, why are you in business? And that alone answers a lot of the questions. But what other advice would you be able to give us today that will point us in the right direction of strategies we need to implement to grow our businesses?
I would say at the beginning, work with people that do that for a living, right? So whether it's IT, whether it's a web developer, whether it's a social media content creator or strategist or branding expert, there's always people, especially in a community like Sudbury, that want to help, right? We're not in this business because we want to just make money. We're in this business because we love this community, and we want to help the businesses that choose to build a business in this community. And I would say, 80% of the work we do is with entrepreneurs. And getting someone who is an expert in those specific things to help you start will pay in dividends down the road. Because if you don't do it from the start, you're going to do it in 5 years from now, or you're going to have to do it in 2 years from now. I have a group of very great people that work with me that are all smarter than me in what they do, and you build a business because of that. that's you have to trust people, and you have to trust people that know a little bit more about those aspects of your business. I will never know more about my clients' businesses than they do, but I can help them get that business out into the community and build that brand equity, build that brand recall, that awareness, help them with their brand personality, help them with a strategy that will in turn provide an ROI.
That's awesome. Do you have anything to say to that, Annik?
For sure. So, I mean, I think just flying off of what you were saying as well, I think one thing I've learned in business, and this isn't even specifically marketing related, but surrounding yourself with people that are just a step further than you, or just a couple steps further than you, they're at that higher level, it forces you to elevate what you are doing. And I think that is such an effective way to grow. But I totally agree that I think there is totally something to be said for staying in your zone of genius. You got into what you do for a reason. You are good at what you do for a reason. And it's okay to have other people come in and help spread the word to get that message out there of what you do, right? And there are so many different ways you can work with those people. So if it's not financially there for you at the moment, there are ways you can consult with people or talk to coaches or go
funding
to
opportunities.
Yeah, there's grants out there. Yeah, there's like regional business centers, organizations like this, right, where you can reach out and ask for that help, so you are in the situation to receive it. So there's so many ways that you can put yourself out there to be able to start outsourcing or getting more knowledge in those areas that you aren't specialized in, right?
And there's always someone in this community that will help.
Oh yeah,
always.
So always have it in mind, all the business owners that are listening in today, always have it behind your mind that there's always somebody within the community that is willing to help you grow your business. You just got to look, and I'm sure you will find them. This brings me to my next questions. These are all great responses I'm getting for sure. It's helping me in my own business as well, and I'm sure it's helping somebody out there. This is a fun one because sometimes I have challenges with this. How do you create ads and campaign to target your audience? Having it in mind that you've already done your market research, you already know who your target audience are. So how do you go from knowing that and building them an effective campaign, to capture their attention, to say, oh, hey, look at me, I'm right here with my business?
Absolutely.
You want to go?
No, you go.
No, you go.
We're doing a dance. Yeah, I mean, there's like I would say, yeah, you start with the branding, then you do the ideal client work or the target market work, followed by the messaging that we've already touched on, right? So once you've done your messaging brainstorm, where I would go from there is figure out how can you turn that messaging into value-based content, right? So,
Correct.
Like I said, educate, inspire, or entertain. Yeah, so one of those three things you want to do. Or you can add two of those three things into your content as well. You can mix it up. If you're sitting down to do a campaign, I can give a couple of easy, quick tips for you to be able to implement. You can come up with campaigns that you're doing on a weekly basis to make your life easier. So you can say, like, every Tuesday, I'm going to post, like, something inspirational for the moms I'm targeting out there, right? Something I think that's really key that we often forget too is to actually deliver value and then promote the offer, right? Promote the product. So we need to tie that value into that offer. So always ask yourself, how can I relate this message? How can I relate this educational content back to what I have out there right now for sale, right? And always have your system set up to be able to make that sale. So whether you're promoting the link in your bio, or you're saying go to this website to access my sales page to click the button to purchase, or you're tagging that product, right? So make sure you have all of that organized, right? Because it is, it does take work to create content. We can get so wrapped up in like creating all this like creative content using our imagination, then it's like, oh wait, I forgot to like actually pitch the product, right? So you don't want to
forgot to make an ask.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away.
Yeah, we get so caught up in it. But it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really simple, and that's one of the ways you can simplify it is to do a weekly like campaign or something like that. And go back to that brainstorming you did. Go back to the messaging brainstorming you did. Think about like what are the things that my niche is really needing to hear right now.
And you don't have to know, right? You as an entrepreneur, you don't have to know what you need. You just have to know what you want. So we have a lot of clients come to us and say, look, I don't know if I need social, I don't know if I need radio or billboard or newspaper or a takeover. I don't know what I need. I just know that this is where I want to be. And then let us know how much you want to spend. Like we'll come back to you.
What is your budget?
And that's it, right? Because like, where do you want to be? What are you looking to spend on this campaign? And then let us bring it in-house. Let us talk to, I'll bring it to my team and I'll say, look, this is the task at hand. This is the goals. How are we going to get that? What's the most effective way? And it might be all social. It might be a combination of social and billboards in strategic areas, because you're a mining company and you want to talk to people right outside of the industrial park. So, you build a campaign around a geographic target market. So starting to realize that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know. And, that's kind of why we're here to help. And just know what essentially that you want. Like you want to increase sales by 10% in the next 6 months in this part of my business. So, and always remember to have a call to action, right? Yeah. You put an ad out there. What are you asking people to do? Are you asking them to go to your website? Are you asking them to download a coupon from your website? Are you, you want them to go in store? Do you want them to call? Yeah. I don't know if people call anymore, but what are those things you're asking?
They're always on their phones, but they don't call.
Yeah. But really starting with, you don't have to know. You don't have to have all the answers. And there's people that can help.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point. Sorry. I just want to play off of that.
Absolutely.
I think that's such an important point. And this is something I say to my clients all the time, that it's like so important to put a piece of content out there and see it as a test. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat. You don't have to hit the perfect messaging points to be able to appeal to that client. Like, put it out there, see how it does, see what the numbers look like. If you want to try something new, like if you want to dabble into Reels or try another new feature on Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you're using, try it. Like, put something out there, see what happens, right? I think testing is so important. And it definitely needs to be mentioned in this conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, ladies. This may sound a lot more tasking and a lot more difficult to achieve, but it really boils down to knowing what your business is about and going back to the drawing board at every turn. Whatever business decision you need to make about market research or market communication, you always got to go back to why you're in business, and you don't have to do it all by yourself. You have to reach out to experts in the industry that are willing to help. You don't have to know everything that you need, but you need to know what you want. And I'm sure Annik and Pam will be able to help you if you reach out.
Yeah.
So I do have one more question finally. So how would you advise business owners on the frequency on social media posts or social media marketing and
I'm just going to say one thing first, and then I'm going to let you dive into that.
Go for it.
I always say to clients, your marketing has to work for you, not the other way around. And it's not about frequency, it's about quality. It's about content. It's about the right content and the right place at the right time. That doesn't mean you have to post at 7 and 12 and 3 and 4 and everyone in your organization is posting, but it's not about frequency. It's about the quality, the content, and having your marketing working for you, not you for it. Because I'm sure you see clients all the time, well, I'm posting 5 times a day and I'm not getting any results. Okay, well, what's your messaging? What's your strategy? What's the campaign? What does it ladder up to? And then we just don't know, because people just feel all the time like, well, I have to be on social. You do, in the right way.
In the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, no, you sorry. But we agree, and that's great, because I think that's the message that needs to be delivered, right? Is that it's about what is doable. Like, I know I already mentioned this, but it's because it's so important, and that's exactly like what you say. It's about what you can put out, especially if you're going to be running your own social media. It is a lot of work, and it is a long game. And so you need to find a posting frequency that is going to work for you, that you can actually fit into your day-to-day schedule, right? So if that's only twice a week, that is fine. Like, you're good. If you only get to post once this week, it's okay. Maybe it was a busy week. But we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace when it comes to that, because I see clients like this all the time that come to me and they're like, I'm so stressed, I'm so burnt out, I've been posting every day. And I'm like, well, your problem is you're posting every day. Like, you must be exhausted. Like, we need to keep the creative juices alive, right? And to do that, we need to be able to create a posting schedule that works for us. Consistency is important, but what consistency means is not frequency. What consistency means is that you're posting on a regular basis. So if that looks like twice a week for you, then that's twice a week for you, and that's what matters.
And messaging consistency.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to mention that too.
Yeah, because it is about the quality over quantity, and I could not agree more about that. So yeah, I'm glad we agree. Me too. That's great.
Thank you very much, ladies. I do not have any more questions. I don't know if anybody online has a question that they want to message in, but at this point it brings us to the end of this panel. But one thing I would like to encourage business owners is, all this may seem overwhelming, but in all honesty, it takes a little bit of time and help from experts out there. So access the resources that are available to you via the NoBib Center, and as well as this beautiful lady sitting with us here today. I'm sure they will be able to share their contact with NoBib, and you can access that through NoBib.
And mentors. Sorry, just on that, I know we're wrapping up, but a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning stages don't have that financial capacity to hire a lot of help. Find yourself a mentor, right? Every stage of my life, Dave Petrina has been a mentor to me for 15 years, right? Like, find a good mentor that you can just bounce ideas off of and ask those questions. 2, someone who has gone down a path that you want to emulate, that you also want to go down. And there's always people, there's so much talent in this community at every turn. There's and people that want to give back, that want to help you, that want your business to grow, that want you to stay in Sudbury and Northern Ontario. Just find a mentor.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pick people's brains. Like, if you're at a networking event or whatever, ask the questions. Like, be in a learning state as much of the time as you can. Like, ask those questions. That's something that I've learned a lot recently, and it's like really a game changer.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better than they said it. So thank you very much, ladies. This brings us to the end of this panel. Please stay tuned for the next panel about finances and taxes. Thank you very much.